once again, thanks for joining our Korea NFT Roadshow. It's really good to have you guys on our event. Me, myself, my name is Edward. I work as head of growth here at Hashed. We are the investor of Axie Infinity as well. So I've been knowing, we have been working with Axie Infinity for a while. So nice to have you, nice to meet you again. So, Jason?
Yeah, hi guys. So this is Jason, and we are DeSpread. We are blockchain accelerator firm based in Korea. We are having lots of blockchain projects to onboard this Korean market, and especially we are focusing on content marketing, like making us great article or podcast or YouTube. So for yeah this for through this event, we hope NF project can introduce themselves to Korean community and share their insight for this NFT market. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
Jamin.
I'm Jamin at DeSpread, working with Jason as well. I'm a growth manager at DeSpread, so I look at various projects all around, which tries to deliver a novel value proposition towards the users and the ecosystem in general. So really nice to see you guys here.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, or Jiho. I'm a co-founder of Sky Mavis. We're the inventors of Axie Infinity. I'm on the growth side of things, so my goal is to increase the size and strength of the community, the economy. So yeah, it's really nice to be here. I love Korea. I actually usually live in Korea recently. I've been living in Korea for 9 months. So thank you. 반갑습니다. And yeah, thanks for the invite.
I think people will love that.
Hi everyone,
Gabby?
my name is Gabby Dizon and I'm the co-founder of Yield Guild Games or YGG. So we are a play-to-earn gaming guild, which means that we invest assets in games such as Axie Infinity, where we've invested a lot in the Axies themselves, in land and the Axis token, and we in turn lend out these assets to our players so that our players can play the game and earn money.
Can you explain about Axie Infinity and YGG? And tell me, and another question is that many people wonder about what you guys work together in terms of business relationship, because people have read a lot of Medium articles and tweets about you guys are working together. So it will be good if you guys can elaborate on this as well.
Sure. So I guess I'll go first. We've created this game called Axie Infinity. The goal of the game is to introduce the world to blockchain technology, which can be very scary and new, through something that's accessible and fun and relatable, nostalgic. Nostalgic is one of the most powerful human emotions. So Axies are pets. You can battle them, collect them, you can breed them. They're kind of like Pokemon. They're round and they're cute. But yeah, the secret sauce, the thing that we do differently is that the in-game economy is controlled by the players. So the Axies, the in-game resources, these can all be sold to anyone, anywhere in the world. So it's become a very empowering product for many people all across the world. And I guess maybe that's a good segue into what Gabby is working on.
Okay, so I've been part of the Axie community as a player, as a breeder, as an NFT investor since late 2018. And I've been playing the game and really been interacting with the community since then. And you could say that YGG is kind of a outgrowth of the work that I've been doing in the community. Last year, around this time, Axie started becoming very popular in my country, in the Philippines, as a way for people to escape poverty during the lockdown. And yeah, so this is actually how Axie started gaining a lot of its user base from the Philippines. And when the scholarship or the lending program started, it also started becoming popular in the Philippines, where people who had a lot of Axies started lending them out to players who wanted to play the game and earn money, but didn't have any money upfront to purchase those Axies. So that's what YGG does. We invest a lot in the Axies. We're probably the largest breeder of Axies in the game. And we along with the work of community managers from around the world, we lend these out to different players who are basically earning a living from playing this game. And yeah, this is something that we've been scaling in Axie Infinity and other games as well, and it's something we're continuing to do so.
This is my first question to YGG. So, yeah, YGG is like some kind of guild of games. So this is really interesting idea. So, how did you come up this idea of borrowing Axie and getting interest? So, why did you start this YGG?
Sure. So, well, of course, guilds themselves are not a new concept in games. There's a lot of guilds from World of Warcraft to RuneScape to EverQuest. I guess what's new is guilds who are able to own their own assets, because the assets in the game are NFTs on the blockchain. So we combine the idea of basically a player's guild that has its own money basically, and that invests into the assets and owns these assets into the game. And this has become a really great way to onboard a lot of new users into NFT games and into blockchain in general. Because as Gio said earlier, learning blockchain is actually a little bit scary and hard. And if you start with the technical side, it scares a lot of people away. But we start people with the gaming side. There's a lot of people around the world who are gamers who would like to have the ability to monetize their gaming skill. And that's what NFT and play to earn games do. Like coming into a game like Axie, we take care of the kind of initial onboarding via the community. They just have to think about playing the game. And as they start earning, they learn about blockchain along the way. And this is a great way to bring mass adoption to crypto in general.
I have a question for both of you. So people ask that the primary function of any game, including blockchain game as well as traditional game, is entertainment and having fun. But in blockchain, many blockchain games' core function right now seems to be play to earn. So what is your take on this? And do you think that this play to earn it will be continue?
Yeah, so I'll kick this off. So incentives, right, have always been a core motivation for gamers, right? Gamers are playing for status, they're playing for loot. They play for fun. I played a lot of World of Warcraft. I didn't really have that much fun. It was mainly I played for social reasons and for status. So there have always been these actually non-fun motives for playing games. It's just, right, we're now adding a new powerful incentive, right? Which is, a monetary incentive. Of course, this needs to be, right, it's most powerful and it's most sustainable, most defendable when you're combining it with, okay, right, like you're also playing for status, for social reasons. There's also, some fun. But yeah, I think like when we add these monetary incentives in the mix, it just becomes very explosive, very powerful. And this is what we've seen. So it's just another, I think like another tool in a game designer's toolkit that isn't, but I think it turns games into something that is much more powerful, right? Because it's something that can really help you in real life to it in a concrete way that maybe was that's just basically been not possible for almost all gamers in the past. So.
Yeah, so there's this misconception that people are just playing to earn and not having fun. And I think the people who are leveling this criticism actually haven't observed the community playing the game. So people are actually having tons of fun just from looking at what the conversations are in Discord, on Twitter, to how the communities are forming. And if you actually dig into Axie's retention numbers, they are basically top of the world, best of class in 30-day retention, which reaches up to 90%. So if you look at from observing the community and the data, Axie is actually a lot of fun, and it's just a way that you're actually layering another component, which is earning money on top of that fun.
Yep. Thanks for the answer.
Okay, so both of your projects' value proposition towards ecosystem participants. It is made possible by the native characteristics which is offered by the blockchain technology, basically. So in this case, in Ethereum, so in retrospect, what impacts and changes are you bringing to Ethereum?
Yeah, so I guess I'll go first. I mean, I think we're bringing Ethereum and blockchain to a totally different user base, right? 50% of our players have never used crypto before. 75% of them have never used NFTs before. So yeah, we're getting into the hands of new people, which is what's needed. We need to get into the hands of people who aren't right the same group of 10,000 people within the Ethereum community, the NFT community. So we've really expanded it to to a new user base. So I think that's fundamentally what we've brought. I think we're showing the route to adoption, which is being very benefits based, making things that are beautiful, that work seamlessly together. I think we're showing. I think we're laying out a kind of a roadmap for the ecosystem on how applications can work in conjunction with Ethereum. So for example, we've built our own side chain. It's kind of like an application specific chain, which still accrues value to Ethereum through the transactions that are happening through the bridge, so deposits and withdrawals. So it's still helping Ethereum, but it is also allowing for this scalable application with many different transactions without basically pricing out everyday consumers, everyday users. So I think that's what we've done, right? We've basically we've shown a kind of playbook for getting this technology into people that haven't been using it historically. So I think in retrospect, that might be our most significant contribution, which is basically kicking off this era of consumer adoption.
So we're bringing, I would say, a social coordination layer to blockchain. So what we're doing is not like I would say technical by nature, but we're bringing a way for our users to come in and congregate and invest in assets and find a way to share those rewards among themselves. So I would say that like these user-driven DAOs are, I think, the future of user acquisition and user aggregation in this space, and that's how you're going to see people onboarded to blockchain.
Do you think Axie can prevent? Axie is very popular in Southeast Asia, and so why does it concentrate in, especially in Philippines? So did you do any focusing on this area or any marketing or supporting? Yeah, Axie, Jiho?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of factors. The Philippines is always a great test market for games. Games will typically do like alpha and beta tests there. I think a lot of it also is, I went to the Philippines. I met Gabby, and he became this local champion super early, right? In 2018. So I think like just Gabby has a lot to do with it as well. And we've gotten this kind of critical mass that it got kind of hit levels maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. I think there are a lot of places in the world that look like the Philippines did 8 months ago right now. So yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, the Filipinos, they speak English, which really helps as well because we don't have localization. They love mobile gaming. There's high mobile phone penetration, a relatively high crypto adoption as well. It's very, I think, a community-based culture. So things that are working can spread very quickly. It's also there's low average income. So for earning $20 to $40 a day, it can be life-saving, life-changing to people in these countries in Southeast Asia, and especially the Philippines, which has been, I think, especially hit hard. So yeah, I think it's a combination, but I do think it is just part of a broader wave that is going to sweep over the world, and I think organizations like YGG are going to bring this movement to all corners of the earth.
Yeah. So agree with what Gio said. The only thing I'll add is that Filipinos have always been at the forefront of every major social network. This dates back to Friendster 2003, Facebook starting 2006, and a lot of mobile and social games where there's a high amount of participation from a Filipino audience, except that the Filipinos have been somewhat invisible because they haven't been monetizable. And now that basically the players in Play to Earn and in Axie are able to earn the same rate as anyone else around the world, now you're seeing a lot of Filipinos use the kind of affinity for being first in mobile and social applications and really become the biggest major population in this game because suddenly their voices are heard. They're able to earn income. They're able to participate in community and be able to monetize from it directly, which is such a powerful thing to do for any community around the world.
So recently, I've seen this from the various media. The Thailand and especially Philippine governments are making move to regulate Axie Infinity. So how do you plan to cope with this? And is this an obstacle or to Axie Infinity's future development?
So let me tackle this first because I'm kind of on the ground doing that. So I would say that the government is trying to understand the play to earn phenomenon and see what applies in terms of regulation, in terms of the earning capacity that people are doing. Now, there's actually no new law that needs to be done because these players, none of them are employees of a company. They are earning value assets in a game that can basically be converted into fiat into Philippine pesos in various exchanges. So the trick is into communicating with these authorities what framework of existing laws exist. For example, does it work in a kind of gig economy model? There's already existing legislation that says if you're earning below $5,000 a year, then you don't need to pay any form of income tax. So a play to earn gamer is basically a new kind of freelancer, but instead of being a graphic designer or a programmer, they're basically playing for value. So yeah, so there's just a lot of constant communication into helping authorities understand what is going on in this new movement.
Great to know that. Jiho, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think yeah, governments are trying to figure out what's going on. I think it's an amazing sign that governments are starting to take a look, right? Like at what's happening here. I think yeah, we put out a statement which I think was a yeah, kind of a landmark moment, right? Because we have this digital nation, right, releasing a statement to a government. So it was kind of a surreal moment. So I think it's really just an indicator of the scale and the responsibility I think that we have now. Yeah, I think that every local laws are going to be different, right? So we definitely uh, are excited, I think, for right like clarification around different laws and definitely encourage our players to abide by the local laws as they are clarified or as they're set forth by their I guess physical countries.
Recently, there has been a government regulation being imposed by the Chinese government towards its people in terms of regulating how many hours minors could play the games. That is, which is 3 hours on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this has been a really huge issue in the gaming industry. And of course, we are not really sure how to track whether the players of Axie Infinity and the members of the YGG games are Chinese minors or something like that. But then I think it must have bring a lot of impact to what you two are trying to achieve. So what is your take on this recent Chinese regulation being imposed to the Chinese people? So for YGG games, um, and I'm pretty sure the majority of the people that you are actually dealing with are native Filipinos. But then I think there is a potential that you could grow much more globally, eventually starting from the other regions of Southeast Asia countries. And then China is a very big market in a sense. So do you think it's going to impact your expansion to other regions in Asia?
So we're already in different countries around the world. Apart from Philippines, we're in Malaysia, we're in Indonesia, we're in Thailand, we're in Brazil, for example, Venezuela, Colombia, and there's a lot of different, I would say, quirks to each culture on how they're playing games, what local regulations are. So we just try to see how YGG can be adapted to a local model. And yeah, with China, I think it's very unfortunate that the government has clamped down so much on gaming. But if that's the regulation, then we'll just have to follow it, and our players will basically just choose how to spend their time playing these games.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm not a legal expert, so yeah, I think it's obviously this is a function of also I'll just say maybe philosophically, this people think that video games are bad, which is a problem. It's my mom, she sent me to boarding school because I was playing World of Warcraft all the time. But what we're trying to do is create games that help people, that teach them skills that can help them in the real world. So I think this regulation is coming as or it's coming from a place of fear, and it's coming from this notion that games are bad for children. But we believe in a future where games are educational tools that empower people, and we think that games are going to be very important, and that games are going to be a huge force for good in society. Unfortunately, right, the games that exist out there, the mainstream traditional games, a lot of them are very abusive and addictive and provide very little. I mean, in some ways, right, it's harder to see the tangible benefit from them. So yeah, I think hopefully what we can contribute is to, I think, increase is to, I think, open people's eyes to what games can actually do, and why they can actually be forces for incredible good.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. I mean, if we, I mean, younger generation these days, they spend, most of their time in the digital world, right? So, gaming, I mean, especially blockchain game, plays special, significant role in that space as well. These kids, they actually do, they earn money, and then they do a lot of, activities in the metaverse. So I think as Jiho said, the blockchain gaming is really important for the future generation as well.
This is personal question for YGG. So, yeah, how much did you generate the revenue to this Axie and small law portion? And beside Axie, which game are you looking for to add it in your portfolio?
So we've generated a total of 59 million SLP GMV lifetime, and so you can check with whatever the exchange rate is, and 10% of that goes to YGG. I think the best part, my favorite part about what we're doing is that 70% of the GMV that we generate actually goes out to the player or the scholar, 20% to their community manager, and only 10% goes back to the guild. That said, we actually reinvest all of the SLP that we make into breeding Axies. And so that we're able to serve more scholars around the world. So we're not really concerned about taking a profit now. We just really want to go out and spread the play to earn, create digital assets for the rest of the world to use. I think we are kind of at the very, very early stage of the play to earn and digital asset revolution, and we're trying to blanket countries around Southeast Asia, Latin America, hopefully India and others as well. And yeah, think of it as an Uber for digital assets, where we want to make these assets available for anyone else in the world to use. As for your second question, we've invested assets into different games such as Formula One Delta Time, Sandbox, League of Kingdoms, Guild of Guardians, Ember Sword, and others.
As you know, the current online and video game industry relies heavily on both capital and labor. So, do you think that Axie Infinity is any different from this? How is Axie different from other normal game developer studios in our traditional sector?
Sure. I mean, so I've never worked at a traditional game company, so it's hard to really understand what's happening on the inside. But I think that we have a team of polymaths. So right, we're all gamers, lifelong gamers. Many of us are collectors, mathematicians. I was really into military and economic history, central banking. So I think it requires you to. I think blockchain, yeah. Game studios need to have people who are master community builders, master economic theorists, amazing developers, because you're building new technology, and you also have to have the game design, and it needs to be fun, right? So that's why it's been so difficult for anyone to really, replicate what Axie's done, right? I think we have like basically 90% of market share within NFT games right now. Because you need to put all these complex parts together, right? You can't just have a fun game. You can't just have a good economy. You can't just have good infrastructure, right? You need to put it all together.
So thanks again, and then looking forward to our
Thank you.
show. Yep. Bye bye.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Amen. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Edward.
Jiho.